Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Pwnery's Week in Review, episode 34, where we basically sit back and sort of beat different horses that haven't been quite beaten to death for the week. We've got several stories for you. As usual, we've got our personals weeks in review, we've got our what we're going to do laters, and surprisingly enough, we even have breaking news. Yep, that's right. We've got breaking news for you this week. So before we even start the personals weeks and reviews, before we even do the intros, we've got breaking news. God, I can't even ham that up, can I? Anyway,
Nope.
while I'm still, just one giant ball of phlegm, let's go ahead and get to breaking news, shall we? And this actually came from Scott, my co-host. So you're going to love this one.
Yep.
But just so we can break the ice, because this week's stories are going to be a bit fun and shitty. Like, it's a mix. Like, I'm going to lift you by the chin so I can punch you in the forehead right back down to the mud. But today's breaking news is actually pretty funny because we need a laugh, especially after federal overbearance by the AFTs and Rare Breed and anyone with force reset triggers. Now, I read this story about... Actually, no, I watched a video. I read several stories, but I watched a video that Yankee put out the other day, and to be perfectly honest, he's right. It made sense. The AFTs are not coming to your door, and they're not going to steal your forced reset trigger. They're not going to kick down your door and kill your dogs. They're going after the manufacturers for not following a cease and desist order, and they will seize their hardware, which I think, Scott, you said that that's already happened, right?
Yeah, according to one video I saw.
They hit Rare Breed?
Yeah. But
So
they're going to go after anybody that is in the dealer network. They're going to go after, FFLs that have them.
big fish.
But there's a caveat there because if the FFL is a SOT, they can't touch them because they're legally allowed to make machine guns.
Well, maybe. I mean, okay, so you and I talked about this off air. They don't have legal authority to do this. They're a division of the Department of Treasury. Like, they're not even supposed to be a law enforcement arm, and yet
Yep.
everyone turns a blind eye and just lets them run loose, which is insane. I mean, it would be like if Germany right now, if the Chancellery of Germany right now turned a blind eye to the Schutzstaffel coming back and kicking down doors and taking Jewish people away, right? It's almost the same principle. It's like, you're not even supposed to be here, that kind of a thing. Anyway, at the end of the day, though, big fish only, manufacturers, major distributors. And the thing is if you're an SOT and you've got those things, yes, you can legally own machine guns, but that specific thing was targeted, and maybe they would find some backhanded way to revoke your SOT. I mean, let's not put it past them, right? They could do something stupid like that. Either way, strangely enough, that's not the people that are under attack right now. And I know that sounds really weird. Like, people are probably going, what the hell are you talking about? It's happening. The ATF has not declared war on that. No. They declared war on the Amish. Dun, dun, dun! This story blew my mind. I had to shove everything out of the way that I was ready to prepare for today's show to put this ahead of it. This is your breaking news. The ATF raids an Amish dairy farmer, seizing a firearm stash and potential rogue gun retailer bust. I mean, how does that go down? They kick down your wooden fence, and then they flip your bale of hay over and find all your freaking shotguns and side-by-sides? They just declared war on the Amish. The Amish are like, you've picked the wrong people to fuck with, British. So, I don't know. I just did that as a joke. But I thought it was funny. Like, Out of all the people you could have went after, you went after the Amish. But maybe that was a crooked Amish guy. Maybe that was actually, a wolf in sheep's clothing or whatnot. I just thought it was funny. When you sent that, I actually took the picture out because it took up too much space in the preview window or whatever. But I saw that and I was just like, man, that's pretty funny. No arrests have been made. Oh, well, there you go. No charges have been filed either. Oh, well, then this is kind of a non-issue, isn't it? And then this guy's like, I'm not going to deny that I was selling some. But this is my business. I'm a dairyman. Like, this guy's going to be pissed off. He's going to be like, you just let out half my cows. For what? He's not dealing in handguns. Sure. I don't know. I just think it's funny. By the way, for you guys, if you're wondering, Scott is driving, so his internet may be flaky, but he's
Yep.
here when he can be here. So that's what's going on. That's my co-host for the day. Apparently, Tony is doing Tony things, so he's not going to make it, I guess.
And we
Whatever.
know Jimmy ain't gonna show up.
No, because he's not awake yet.
Exactly.
Actually, he is awake. I don't know. I've been watching his shows in the morning after I get to work, like after it's already posted, because I can't do it on the way to work because it's on while I'm driving. It's kind of like when I'm coming home from work and like Rick's show would be on. Although he has pushed it out an hour, I think, lately. I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's got new friends now anyway. He doesn't come hang out with us anymore because he forgot his
kind of
way.
like somebody else we know from Massachusetts.
Quite a few people. So let's see. I left notes in his channel. Somebody left a comment. I think it was Gunmetal Guy that his show has a lot of delay, a lot of lag to it. So I was trying to think of a solution for that. And what I thought was he's, I think, on a wireless connection. Either that or he's on a wired connection that's far from the service box. So it's sort of like the same type of thing that Rick goes through. But it's not DSL, he's cable. So I was trying to figure out what his problem was with lag because anytime you broadcast to YouTube, there is a delay. But apparently his is grossly delayed. So if you catch this on the replay later, Jimmy, uh, your delay, if it's over a minute, we're going to have to like smash heads together and see what's going on because it's either that your upload speed is atrocious or your OBS isn't streaming up fast enough. Like you might be throttling yourself through the software. If that's the case, I'll help you fix it so your delay is shorter because I think my delay to YouTube is about maybe 15 to 25 seconds, something like that. I can usually tell just when I click a story and I see it pop up in the preview window in the studio. So I think it's only like 10 to 15 seconds, maybe as much as 20. But I'm blowing upload speed at max speed for my connection, so it should be as minimal as possible. And it's mostly delays between YouTube crunching it live and putting it out to you guys that are watching. So that's the first thing for you. The second thing was they were talking about uh, defensive ammo, and he wanted to make his own Underwood. And he was like, can I even do that? And the answer is, yeah, actually, because Underwood ammo usually uses Lehigh defense bullets. So you can buy Lehigh extreme cavitators, extreme penetrators, controlled chaos. You could buy all those right from their website, individual pieces. They usually sell them in like 50, 100, 250, and 1,000. I think 500 and 1,000. So yeah, you can make your own. I roll my own self-defense ammo, which I always thought that was funny. People were like, you shouldn't roll your own self-defense ammo. Let me tell you something. I have just as much opportunity of having a failure to feed or a failure to fire with the stuff I make as opposed to a box of something I bought that I don't know who the hell made it. I know what's going into my defensive load. I know how much powder is in it. I know how much or what primer is in it. And I know what bullet I'm using. And when I make my self-defense ammo, typically, back in the day, I would use my single stage press. So I was incredibly on top of every part of the process. I have a Lyman All-American 8 press, which is basically a semi-turret because it's still a single stage. You just turn the turret head. It's the same process. So like most of my self-defense ammo, I buy Spear Gold Dot bullets, and then I load them into nickel-plated brass cases, so I know everything that's in it. So in his, for his question, the answer was short and sweet and to the point. Yes, you can make your own Underwood type ammo. Essentially, what you would do is you would buy the Lehigh defense bullets, and then you would, just use good brass, good powder, load it pretty much close to the maximum loading on your load table. Like if it's a 9, you would load it to like plus P, and then, you're off and going. And then you would just take like, you'd probably take like 10 rounds of a certain powder charge, and then, mark those cases or just set them aside, and then, tweak your powder charge a couple of times, and then take them into the range, see how they group, see how they recoil, see how they fire, and then pick the best one as your pet loading, and then only load that for the end of time until that powder is no longer manufactured, which, with the way shortages work, could be tomorrow, but whatever. So yes, you can do that. Anyway, that all aside, now that I've hit the recaps of other shows and whatnot, and we've disclosed that the AFTs have declared war on the Amish.
Yeah.
That is. Do Amish even have dogs, or are they just going to run around killing all their dairy cows?
Mm.
I mean, do AFTs even have Barretts? I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, they probably do.
They have tanks, don't they? They can set buildings on
Yeah.
fire with tear gas. I forgot about that.
Yes, they
Caramel.
can.
So, welcome to the show, everybody. I've wasted 12 minutes of your time on goofy intros and funny stories. A little bit. I'm trying not to be a giant ball of phlegm. And, before I go into the stories, I know I'm sort of all over the place. I just wanted to go ahead and get this out now. But I wanted to wish a happy birthday to the most foul person on YouTube. FOWL, that is. Today is Gizzard Gary's birthday. So, happy birthday. Go cluck yourself. I just wanted to put that out there because, we love Gary. He's cool. When I always go into his channel, I go into the chat and I always do I do this. I do chicken TV. So I go like, let's see, chicken and then TV. Like this in his chats. So happy birthday, Gary. You're like one step closer to retirement. Gold watch territory, I suspect. Anyway, here's to many more. So, now that I got that out of the way, now we can finally go into personal weeks in review. And funny enough, strangely enough, good God, even with only 2 of us, boy, have we had some good weeks in review. So, I'm going to let you go first, because you actually have more to talk about than I do this time. What did you get this week?
Well, I'm heading to my FFL to pay off my Rock Island Ultra Match Multiple 10mm 1911.
2011.
Excuse me, 2011. And this morning I kind of did something stupid because CZ has discontinued the 97B series, the 45 ACT. I might have done the 4-pay program from Sportsman's Guide on one.
Maybe. So for those of you who don't know, I haven't done a review on this yet. I recorded the video like 4 months ago, but I don't like it, so I'm going to redo it. A little over a year ago, I decided that I wanted to get a 10mm. And the gun I wanted was the Rock Island Armory's, what do they call it? The Protac Ultra, which is a 2011 frame. So it's like a double stack 10mm with a 6-inch match grade barrel, fiber optic sights, rear adjustable, with
Magwell.
with a flared magwell, G10 grips, and a pick rail underneath the barrel. Really nice gun. Super nice gun, especially for what their asking price was. So originally they came out, and I think they were like $7.99. Nowadays, you're lucky if you can find one from anywhere between $900 to $1,300. So Scott happened to find one for what was it, $7.99, something like that.
$7.99.
So when he told me that,
Technically, it's used, but non-fired.
yeah.
It was somebody bought it and just put it in their safe.
So when he said that, I was like, do it, because when I bought my Rock Island, I couldn't find one. Like down in my part of the country, they're just pretty rare. Like nobody's got one. And then went to a gun show probably a year and a half ago, and I settled for the one he has is the model. It's the Rock Island model 52,000. Mine's the Rock Island model 52,009. It's the 5-inch Commander version, so it's still 17 rounds. It still has fiber optic sights, but mine has a 5-inch barrel and no rail. Everything else is the same though. Same adjustable trigger, same G10 grips. It's an overall really nice gun, and the only reason I bought mine because it was only $600. I was like, yeah, I'll have it, and then if I ever found the other one, I would buy that and maybe sell the one I've got. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, I won't. I'll just buy that one and have two because I'm greedy and I have to have all the Pokemons. So I have one of the Pokemons and he has one of the Pokemons. I have the Pikachu and he has the Raichu. Great.
Although I already do have a 10 millimeter.
Yeah, that's true. The only other 10 millimeter I want, which hasn't even been announced or prototyped yet, there's a rumor that Kalashnikov USA will come out with a 10 millimeter version of their KP9, which I do have already. And if they do make that, I will probably buy a 10 millimeter AK because I think it's a cool idea. And I love my KP9. So anyway, you bought two pistols.
Mm-hmm.
I went a different route. uh, I had a moment of, I don't know. I went to my FFL after New Year's, and I walked in, and it was. I'm gonna try to do my impression of Lewis Black here, and I don't know if I can get my bulldog cheeks to do this, but it was what the fuck? Because I had placed an order, a pre-order, for a Colt Python in May of 2019, and it was to lock in a certain price. So I paid the deposit and I put myself on a list. And the last time I had done a pre-order with this FFL, it took six days. And they said, your pre-order's here. And I was like, cool. The one before it took a little bit longer. I put in a pre-order for the 380 Easy Shield and it took about 3 weeks. That's still acceptable. So when I walked in, I hadn't been in the shop for almost a year. And the guy's like, where the hell have you been? And I'm like, waiting on a phone call. Where the fuck is my Python? It's been 20 months. And he was like, let me look you up. So he's looking up my order details. And he goes, I can't find you on the list. And I'm like, here's the order number. And he goes, hang on, it's probably on the other system. So he found it. While he's looking for it, I'm talking to the owner's wife. And she's in her 70s. And we're talking about, we're just playing catch up because my dad and I have been shopping there combined for almost 40 years. And we're talking about the Anaconda. And I was like, I placed this order 20 months ago. I had a gentleman's bet with a friend. Whoever got their Python on YouTube first wins. He got his Python. He sent it back to Colt 2 times for repairs because he got the pre-recall one. They gave up, sent him a new Python with the corrected changes on it. Then he bought the 8 3/4 or whatever, the big one. Then he bought the Anaconda in both sizes. And then the week of SHOT Show began. The 3-inch was announced, and by Thursday of the same week, he had a 3-inch Python. And I'm like, he's gotten all those, and you still haven't gotten my one fucking gun from 20 months ago? So he goes, I found you on the list. And I'm like, so where the hell am I on this list? There were 292 names on the pre-order list. Still. I was number 21 after 20 months. And I looked at him and I'm like, how is this even fucking possible? If you're such a small shop with such weak buying power, how am I still only 21 after 20 months? And how do you have this many pre-orders? They come up as the #1 retailer for Colt in my city. So everyone flooded his website with pre-orders. Apparently enough to where there was almost 100 ahead of me, and there's still 271 below me. So I'm like, well, how long is this going to take? Because you used to tell me you get 2 or 3 of these a month. And he said, last year I got 3 for the whole year. Okay. So I'm like, basically what you're telling me is I've got money that has been burning a hole in my pocket for the last 2 years that I turned around and gave up and spent it somewhere else. And every time I've got the money to pay you, you still don't have my shit. And now you're telling me that again, and you still don't have an ETA. And he's like, yes. And he goes, but if you find one locally, go ahead and get it, and I can take your deposit and move it towards anything else. And I thought, well, okay, because I do want the Anaconda. So I said, all right, if I do that, how soon do I have to wait on an Anaconda? And he goes, not nearly as long. I've only got 40 people on the list. And he goes, and a lot of them drop out. Why is that? Because people have soft hands, and apparently they can't handle 44 Magnum. Okay. And he's like, I actually have one right now. Reaches behind the counter, puts it up in front of me. It's got a $2,000 price tag on it. And he said, if you're willing to pay the $2,000, you can have this one right now. If you do the pre-order, I can give it to you for $1,500. And I thought, your website had it for $18. And I was like, what if I do the pre-order, or no, what if I do the outright price on your website for $18? And then you just take my deposit from the Python, and I just pay the difference. And he said, I'll do you one better. He was like, if you pay the $18 on the website, I'll take your deposit, double that value, and then you pay the difference of that. Which means I would get that for like $13.90 something. And I thought, I'll think about it. Because I was going to run home and see if I could find a Python locally. Not happening. Closest one I could find was 5 hours away and was $1,600. So I gave up. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to leave it there. He'll call me when he calls me. Got my Christmas bonus. It comes in a different form than it used to. My Christmas bonuses used to just be added on to my January paycheck, and it was basically an extra month's salary, which is nice. It used to not be that way, but with success, my boss is being a little more generous. What was a bit weird, though, was he tried to tell me before the bonuses were out that we had a down year. I built more machines last year than I had done in the previous 2 years combined. But we had a down year. George worked himself to the point where he tore a muscle so badly that it required 3 surgeries to fix it because of how much stuff he had to move around the warehouse. But we had a down year. My boss just took delivery of a $110,000 Dodge Ram TRX. And he has a Raptor on the way, his second one. And he bought an AMG G-Wagon Mercedes. And he has a Tesla. And he has a BMW X5. And he has a Porsche 992, which is a limited edition heritage car. And he has a Carrera 4S. And his son has a Carrera 2S because he just had to buy his son a $300,000 house. Because his son got married. Because the first girl he dated got pregnant. But we had a down year. So I wasn't expecting much, and I was a bit ticked off. But what he did 2 years ago was he set up an IRA for George and I. And what he put in that IRA the first year was 10 times the amount of a normal Christmas bonus. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to complain. You know, he's buying his toys in real time, but he's putting away my nest egg where I can buy those toys later. That's fine. So I got my Christmas bonus for this year yesterday, strangely enough. I got the email. And considering it was a down year, I wasn't expecting much. Boy, was I wrong.
So what
Like,
you're saying is your boss was fucking with you.
I don't think he deliberately was. I don't think he was realizing how much that his accountant was going to dole out in profit share. He thought it was going to be a lot less, but the numbers were surprisingly good. And he doesn't regret that. He was just saying don't expect expect the unexpected, basically. But he worded it in such a way because he's always been a pessimist. And when I checked it last night before I went to bed, I was like, he went to Barrett. Okay. So anyway, I had a debt to pay to a friend overseas. Some of you on gun channels knew him as Blue Phoenix. He dealt me a super solid, so I had to pay him. That was done. I had some money left over, burning in my pocket, and since I wasn't getting my Python, I've been wanting to buy the Osama bin Laden AK for almost 3 years now, but I didn't want it in 5.45. Bin Laden's rifle was an AKS-74U. Coincidentally, the president of Belarus, that is his personal weapon of choice. When he does like uh, troop inspections, he carries one. It's his personal one. It was his original service rifle. He's that attached to it. And I always liked the look of it. Some of you know it as the crink, like the brake, the little booster thing on the end of it. And 5.45, I'm not going to say is super rare, but it is a bit pricey. And I got a bunch of ARs, so I'm happy with 5.56. And AK-47s were like the rifle that I never owned. My dad had a pre-banned Norinco, and that was my introduction to AKs. But I got to shoot it a few times, and I sort of wanted one, but I never really actively sought one. But when I saw the Bin Laden rifle, I thought, I really like that. It's short, it's portable, it's cool. And it had traditional wood furniture, and he had a Bakelite magazine sticking out of it, and I'm like, I really like the look of that. And I remember, I want to say it was like Call of Duty 4, maybe? It's either 4 or whatever came shortly after 4. I used to use it a lot in that game too. But I went and finally decided, I was like, no, if I get one, I want one that looks like his, but I want it in the traditional 7.62 by 39. And there was what, ZPAP Z92 or something like that. That was a close comparison, but it
Yep.
had black furniture. And then, there's Krinkovs, and then there's the Dracos weren't close enough looking. They're too different looking, but they were the right physical size. Uh, and then lo and behold, PSA, they had a rifle they brought out called the AKP, and it's their third generation one, so it's all cold hammer forged goodies. And I remember watching a video from AK-47 Operators Union, and he put one through a 5,000 round test, the GF3, I think they call it, the full size rifle. And he did a 5,000 round torture test on it, and it passed with flying colors. I think he said it was the first rifle he did on the channel that passed with flying colors. Pretty high praise. So I thought, you know what? That plus the fact that it has a lifetime warranty, plus the fact that it's the right size and shape, and it had the right. I bought the Nutmeg version because it had the wood furniture that looked the best in my estimation. So that's what I bought. I bought an AKP Nutmeg. I've wanted it for about 3 years, but it was always out of stock. I used to ride Ellis's ass, saying, "You gonna let me know when one's available?" And he's like, "Oh, there's one available. I got one." I was like, "That don't do me any good." So, right around Christmas time, I was looking at their website, and it was in stock. And I thought, "Oh, well, I'll check on the Python. If I can't have that, I'll buy the AKP." And then I thought, "Am I actually going to go through with it?" Then I found out I couldn't have the Python. Then I found out I had the money burning a hole in my pocket. So it was a choice between that or finishing my 12.5-inch AR-10 or buying my Elcan Spectre DR optic or this AKP. So I
What
bought
the
the
fuck?
AKP. I bought it on Monday. I got my order confirmation on Tuesday. Said it was going out second day air and PSA doing PSA things. Didn't actually ship it out until Friday. Which means I don't get my rifle until Tuesday of next week because it'll get to my FFL on Monday and he will probably be too busy and too booked to give it to me on Monday, so I can't have it until Tuesday. The day after, so Wednesday of this week, I thought, wait a minute, I gotta feed this thing. So I knew there was RWS. I call them Fakeolites. They're the polymer cased magazines that look like Bakelite. And I ordered 4 out of Missouri. I think it was Missouri. And then I ordered the ammo. Uh, I found PPU brass case 7.6239. I think it was $6 a box, 15 rounds per box. So I bought, I think it was 10. I bought 10 boxes, and those shipped out of Dallas. The ammo and the mag showed up Thursday. The gun hadn't even left South Carolina till Friday. So I got the mags, I got the ammo. Uh, and you were saying that the Fakeolite magazines, they're a good 10-footer. I gotta disagree with you, man. They got the swirls in this one pretty good. Now,
Mine's not so good.
the outside is a little too bright, which is kind of a telltale. I noticed that like the Tula Arsenal, they had 4 generations of Bakelite mags. Mine look like the first gen. They're super light, but I know how to darken them. The trick is, I'm gonna try this, and if it works, I'll do a video on it. But I'm pretty sure if I were to take those magazines and do an oil change on my car, I'll take that oil that comes out, rub it all over my hands, and then rub my hands all over this magazine. And it'll sort of soak into the plastic a little bit and darken it, and then just wipe it off and then let it dry. I've seen someone do that before. They use diesel oil, but used oil is used oil. So I think I'm going to try that on one, and if it darkens it up, I'll let you know, because it should work. And if it doesn't, whatever, it's no big deal. I can just carb clean it clean and make it a little orangey, whatever. But yeah, I bought my first 7.6239 AK finally, which is made in America, so it's technically really not an AK, but it looks like an AK. It's
Man, it's a pistol.
and it's a pistol. It's Trans-AKanism. I'm gonna name it Caitlin. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So I finally got one. Um, I really want to just leave it the way it is. I like it the way it is. But I'm sort of an idiot too. So then I turned around and I contacted the manufacturer in Russia that makes the OKP7 optic. And I might have bought one of those too. And that was $450. So that's on the way too. So I'm going to have OBL's rifle in 7.62 by 39 with an OKP7 optic on it because Russians doing Russian things. And I got to start looking for balaclavas and some Adidas gear. I need to trade my car in for another BMW or Mercedes because that's what they all drive. And I think the only real quality of life improvement that I'm going to put on it, other than an optic, is I'm going to put the Zenitco RP1 charging handle knob on it. Oh, and the other thing is, I'm going to do the same trick I did to my KP9 on the AKP, which is I like having a safety with a bolt hold open feature. So when I got my KP9, it doesn't have that, and I wasn't going to spend $70 on a piece of stamped steel just to have it. So I have a thumb shelf to flip down the safety. Like I don't care about that. So what I did was I took a Dremel to the original safety and I cut the groove in the back of it, and now I have a bolt hold open and it works perfectly fine. I even rounded the corner so it doesn't make a stress crack, and then I repainted it, and you can't even tell that I did it. So I'll probably do that to the AKP also, because it's nice to have. And the Fake-A-Lite magazines don't have a last round bolt hold open follower anyway. So that's fine. It's fine. Not sure I'm going to put a light on this one because I've got very limited rail space. The OKP doesn't take up much of that space, but I also need to put a tab for a brass catcher on it. So I got to find a brass catcher that's big enough and long enough so the charging handle can travel within it and still use the same pick rail mount that I have for most of my ARs. I bought these brass catchers. One's a Caldwell, and then one of them is like a knockoff of a Caldwell. And the knockoff company actually sells extra mounting tabs. So like it's got 5 grooves cut into it. It takes up 1 pick rail space, and then you just clip the tongue of your brass catcher into that, and it locks in place, and you just push a button to release it. I bought a bunch of those mounts because I have a bunch of ARs, and that way I catch my brass because fuck you, you're not getting my 50 Beowulf brass. That's expensive, and I load my own. I'm probably going to do the same thing with the AK because as much as I'm going to buy steel cased ammo, and I'm going to do what I did with my ARs, I'm going to start filling, Milk-Bone dog biscuit containers full of them, and then that'll be my barter ammo or my SHTF ammo or whatever. But by and large, I'll just, I've got brass ammo in case I want to go to the indoor range because they only let me shoot brass ammo there for whatever reason. Even the ones that say range safe, non-bimetal, all that shit, they still won't let you do it. And I'm like, I have a brass catcher. I'll even contain my own steel case. And they're like, nope, can't do it. I'm just like, whatever. So my choices were PPU brass or buy Golden Bear and just tell them to go fuck themselves because they won't know because it looks like brass because it's brass washed steel case. Only thing is Golden Bear is kind of hard to find right now, and when you do find it, it's a little overpriced. HVS is saying that the AK is fine with iron sights and adding stuff makes it worse. I sort of agree with you. I think I like it the way it is. I mean, there's several reasons why I bought the Nutmeg. I wanted it to look like the Bin Laden rifle. I wanted it to look like a little bit kind of like my dad's old Norinco, which we sold. Um, it was like one of those things of keeping up with my dad. He had one, and now I've got one, finally. But no, I wanted it to look traditional, to be honest. And like Scott showed me something else, strangely enough, PSA is making. Uh, in 3 months, around my birthday, they're going to release their AK-47 Spiker. And the only other company I saw with AK-47 Spikers was Polytech, and they were pricey. And I'm like, that seems excessive for what basically is a standard AK with an M44 flip-out bayonet mounted sideways so it clips underneath the handguard. I'm like, that seems like extortion. So I suspect PSA will go with the GF3 again and then have the different furniture with the groove cut into it with the bayonet added. And hopefully, did you know estimate, ballpark what the price on that was going to be?
No idea yet.
Their regular AKs go for what, about 650 to 750, right? Like the just standard wood furniture.
Yeah.
So the Spiker, you figure plus 50 to a plus 100, maybe.
No.
Not even that much?
It's going to be an in-demand. No, it's going to be higher.
You think so?
Higher. Yeah. The Spikers are not a standard AKM pattern. So there's actually custom parts that need to be made for them.
Mechanically?
Mechanically, it's a standard, but...
You're talking about like the hardware for the bayonet up front.
The furniture is different.
Yeah.
There are differences.
But I mean, like mechanically from like, say, the front trunnion back, they're standard AK. Everything ahead of that, like the mounting hinge and everything for the bayonet and the furniture up front. Either way, you're buying one, I'm buying one.
Yeah, but I'm going to wait for a while.
Well, I mean, they're using their 3rd gen build.
I get to stop buying guns already.
Oh, I see what you mean. For me, it's like,
No,
I
I
see
would
it,
guess
I'll
they're
buy it.
probably gonna be $1,000 to $1,200 would be my guess.
1,200?
That would be my guess.
Man, I don't know if that's worth it to me. Like if it's say like 899, I'm in. I'll buy it, sure. But you know, I the Krink I had to have, right? The 74 SU looking rifle I had to have. The standard spiker wasn't even on my radar until you showed it to me, and I'm like, no, I kind of like that because if that wasn't a thing, then you know I was gonna buy a full size 74.
Hmm.
And then the only other rifle I really want is an RPK. And then maybe,
Which
go ahead.
PSA just came out with.
Yeah, so that's on my list too. Like RPK, 74, or Spiker. I might still do a 74. And then someday, watch, wouldn't it be like, wouldn't it be funny? It's like, oh yeah, the race is on between PSA and Kalashnikov USA. Who's going to make an SVD first? For 14.99. First person to make that for 14.99, I'll take my money.
I'm pretty sure HSV is not up on. I could be wrong. It might be a different guy.
Huh.
But HSV was saying that Ironwood makes wood furniture for AK,
Yeah.
and you sand it and fit it and stain it yourself.
Yeah.
But I believe that guy died.
There's other ones out there though. Oh, by the way,
Yeah,
I'm putting this
but
out
that
there.
particular guy, I think, he died. So they're
Oh.
just selling off what he had in the pipeline.
Ah. Well, I'm going to put this out there if you're watching. If any of you out there have a Century Arms C39 V2 that had that real pale blonde furniture that nobody liked, and you took it off your rifle and it's sitting in a drawer somewhere, I want it. Send it to me. I want the blonde furniture because I need the wood to be as light as possible for a project I want to do. If you've ever seen it, uh, actually, I can use this as an example. If you've ever seen a Gibson Les Paul guitar, they have like a colored translucent stain, sometimes red, sometimes green. I think the Silverchair one. Yeah, I had the Les Paul that looked like the one from Silverchair. It was green, translucent green. Uh, I found this stain called ocean blue or ocean blue translucent, and I have this thing for Spetsnaz camo, that blue, black, silver, white, and gray, multicam. I love that stuff. So what I really want to do is I want to take a 74, take all the wood furniture off, put that blonde furniture on, but stain it that translucent blue, and then put that on there. Like I want to have a blue rifle. So if you have that, send it my way, especially since you're not doing anything with it. I'll throw a couple bucks your way if you have it. C39 V2 blonde shitty wood that nobody liked. If you have a drawer of it, name your price, be reasonable. I'll flip you a couple bucks, send it to me so I can stain this shit in a different color. And then build a blue rifle. Because I want one. Anyway, that was my week in review. I got ammo, I got Fake-A-Lights, I got an OKP7 on the way, and I bought the Bin Laden rifle made by PSA. And I've got no regrets. Cool. My old blonde Gibson Explorer is in storage. I don't want you to cut up a guitar to make the furniture.
That'd be expensive furniture.
Yeah, no, my guitar collection. The only thing I have that is that blonde is I have a Gibson SJ200 Jumbo Acoustic. My preference for acoustic guitars are jumbos. I love the way they sound, and the body's big enough on it that I can slam my long arm over the top of it and actually be on the strings. Like dreadnoughts, I overreach because they're not big enough. Size complex. Other than that, I've got a quilted maple Ibanez. I've got Gresh White Falcon. Hmm?
Or size queen. Size complex or size queen?
Size complex. Like, some of it's justified. Like, the thing with the guitar, I try to play on a dreadnought, and my arm's a bit too long for it. And I like the sound out of a jumbo anyway. The bass is deeper, and then they say you lose brightness on the higher strings, but I get past that because I use brass tone rings, or I use brass pins for my strings, so that brightens it right the hell back up. And so I get both. I get the best of both worlds. Plus, I like jumbos. They look cooler. Like I still want to own. Oh yeah, this is another APB. Uh, if you have a boat bottom mariachi bass guitar just sitting on your wall, and you don't want it, send it my way. Always wanted one. I think they're awesome looking. Because, like, they're huge, and the necks on them are really short. But anyway, that's my inner Latino talking, even though I don't have a drop of Latino blood. Anyway, all right. So, we've wasted 45 minutes of your time just on the weekend review. Um, so, yeah, we got a lot of hardware coming. Tony, actually, if he was here, he's got some hardware coming. He's just, for those of you who don't know, he's moving. He's leaving Illinois eventually, so he's creeping closer and closer to his wife's retirement. And then they've already bought property, and the day they signed the paperwork, an earthquake hit right near his property. It was almost as if Missouri was shaking in fear of going, "Oh shit, he's coming." So that's happening. But he's spending long weekends driving down there and clearing out land, making preparations for basically his retirement home. Uh, so yeah, he's got hardware coming too, just in the form of equipment and housing materials and things like that, which is really cool. And as far as I could tell, he was like, "Yeah, let me get settled and come visit sometime." So that'd be cool. Um, and I think, now that I think about it, thanks to my fucking Christmas bonus, I might be able to come see some of you guys out in Wanamaker in April. And I think I will. I think I will go out there in April. I'm not sure what I'm going to buy because my Milsurp to-do list is sort of stopped.
31.
Yeah, okay. Oh, thank you, fucker. Um, so if Night Strike is heading back to Wanamaker in April, and if Raphael is heading back up to Wanamaker in April, then I guess we can be the three amigos again and run around there and look for a Swiss 9611 or K11 or K31, or maybe I'll just buy all three because why the hell not? I don't know. There's something else I wanted, but I can't remember what it is now. I think it was an M16 Berthier, maybe. I don't know. The closer we get to April, the closer I'll get to that decision. And you know what? Maybe not. Because if that Spiker comes out in April, there goes my Wanamaker money. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I could just do both. Fuck it. It's only money, right? All right. So we have 5 stories for you. Because the 6th one was the joke. It was the Amish thing. Which, when you sent that, I thought it was funny. So I was like, yeah, it's pretty funny. Let's go with that. Well, since Jaime's not here, his weekend review was pretty good too. He got his Galil, and I think he said he was getting something else. I can't remember if it was a SIG or a CZ, but I think he said he's got a pistol coming too. So yeah, this was a good week for most of the hosts here in terms of hardware. We can review
Expensive
hardware.
week.
Yeah, a bit pricey. I don't know. I got to go back on that AK thing for a second because I get what HVS is saying. Adding a bunch of stuff to your AK sort of makes it worse. If you have one of them tactical all Zenit code out AKs, sort of like how I did my KP9, I really like it. I really like all that junk on it. It made the gun really heavy, but I still like it. It's cool. And it shoots really nice too. And it's nice to
you
have...
got the old Zenico. The new stuff is much lighter.
Is it?
The Sport Series rails, yeah.
Oh, I could have bought that. I could have got that.
It's much lighter than what you bought.
Is it exactly the same design though?
No, I don't think so.
I thought, yeah, see, like when I bought that
It's a
stuff,
slightly different design, but it's so much lighter, it's worth it.
see, when I bought that stuff, it was Flippy gave me a list and he was like, if you want it to look like a Vitchaz, this is what you need. And I thought, yes, I do, so that's what I'll buy. And then when I placed the order, they were talking about the Sports Series stuff. And if I remember right, they were cut differently. And I suspect
Yeah.
the reason it's lighter is because it's got more magnesium in it. So if it gets shot, it'll burn. But either way, um, no, I mean, I get it. The other reason I went with the wood furniture on mine is because I watched a guy with an AKP with the cheese grater and the bottom metal rail thing handguard. He fired 60 rounds and he couldn't touch it. It got so hot. And I thought, yeah, I don't want that. What I'm going to do is, at the most, if it starts to get hot, I'm going to take the wood furniture off. I'm going to buy a roll of header tape for cars, and I'm going to line the inside of the wooden furniture. I'm going to stick a layer on it on the inside and then put it back on the gun. So it has like one extra layer of insulation. Because I don't want it to burn. I really like the look of it. I don't want to mess it up. But I still want to shoot it. So that's the other reason I did that. But you know, it's got a rail. It's got just enough room for small optic. It's got enough room for, I don't know. I'll put the tab for the brass catcher, and if I have any space left, I'm really considering putting off a 45-degree offset mount on the left side so I could put a flashlight on it. But maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Because I've got an extra flashlight, so we'll see. It's like a TLR1 or something. We'll see. I got all that stuff out of the way on my KP9 because I bought a fake PEC 15. And it had a flashlight that was 300 lumens, which is good enough. And it had a laser on it, red laser, which I don't care. I don't use lasers, but it's on there. And then it had, strangely enough, it had an IR laser, and it works. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. But I just bought it for the flashlight because I wanted a 300 lumen flashlight because the Vitchaz, I think they use 290 or 320 or something like that. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's two birds with one stone. It looks like a PEC 15. It gives me the flashlight I want. I'll have it. I think I only paid like 65 bucks for it too. I don't care if it's a fake. I just bought it because it's a flashlight. I've already put like 600 or 700 rounds to this thing, and the flashlight still works. So, yeah, you know, whatever. I don't know. I like it. I like it with all its bitch ass shit on it. It's just funny because I've got like this, you know, I got an EOTech on it, and then I've got this fake PEC 15 on top, and people look at me going, that EOTech's got to be fake. And I'm like, no, it's real. It's real. I just bought this piece of shit for the flashlight. I promise you. All right, enough. Let's go to stories. So let's start with. I'm going to take you all on a little road trip. The breaking news started off heading east to Pennsylvania. I think that's where the Amish are, right? So we started off heading towards Pennsylvania. If you're Hawaii Volcano Squad, I took you to the far east to Pennsylvania. And we're going to go even further now. We're going to the point that I'm taking you so far east that HVS is better off heading west. We're going to Italy. And today's story starts off with a warning. If you ever watch Keith Warren Outdoors on YouTube, he's a hunter. He's a bit of a good old boy the way he talks. Lately, he's been on this huge kick of hunting with 50 BMG. And you gotta love that guy for that. Like, I saw these videos years ago of varmint grenade hunting, Barnes varmint grenades, and shooting prairie dogs and rock chucks and all this other stuff, right? And then there was this one crazy bastard, I think in Montana, and he was shooting prairie dogs with 50 BMG. Is this like overkill much? The shockwave of the round passing by one liquefied the brain of one. I mean, come on. Anyway, Keith Warren goes hunting and he took a 50 BMG to, I think they were called gibbons. Is it kind of a baboon type thing? And he just
Come on.
he obliterated one. But it was funny because it didn't like. I thought it was just going to liquefy the thing. No, it took the hit and just fell over. Like it had a hole in it, but it didn't like explode like I thought it would. Anyway, when he does these hunting videos, earlier in his YouTube days, he would always describe everything, and he would tell you, for hunter safety, uh, when you take the shot from a blind and you see the animal, if you hit him in the right spot, they go down very close to where you shot them. They don't run very far. Uh, and he says when you see him go down, don't immediately jump out of your blind and run over to it because it could just be winded and wounded, and then when you get close, it'll jump up and start attacking you, right? So he used to say something like, when you take the shot and the animal goes down, stay in the blind for about 10 to 15 minutes. Keep an eye on your animal that you hit, see if there's any movement, things like that. After 15 minutes, if it really did die, it's brain dead now, so it's definitely not going to jump up and kill you. But as a precaution, he always tells you, have your dispatch pistol at the ready because you never know, right? It could just be playing possum or it could be unconscious or whatever. Just it's for your own safety. Well, apparently this guy in Italy didn't watch Keith Warren hunting, Keith Warren outdoors, because he decided he was going to go shooting for wild boar in Italy, and he shot one, and he jumped off of his perch and ran over to it with no pistol in hand, and immediately the boar got up and bit him in the leg, severing his femoral artery. Shortly afterwards, he had cardiac arrest from the blood loss and died. He only had enough time to cry out for help. This is a case of always take a second shot. Or wait the 15 minutes. And have a dispatch pistol at the ready. Because this is one of those cases where this situation was 100% avoidable. I'm sorry. You will not convince me otherwise. I've done enough hunting to realize you either take the second shot, because if you're not going for trophies, it doesn't matter, right? Like if you're not going for wall mounts, it doesn't matter. If you're just trying to eat, it doesn't matter. Or have your dispatch pistol at the ready. The closest I ever got to something like this happening was I hit a boar. He was probably about 150 pounds. He wasn't huge. He was good size, but he wasn't huge. And I must have just missed all the major organs somehow. Like it must have been like the JFK miracle bullet. Because it hit him in the shoulder. Just behind the joint in the shoulder. I thought I had him down for the count. And I was using I think it was a Remington 700. And I jumped down after about 10 minutes, and I had my 44 competitor in my hand, and I walked up to this thing. I had a stick in my left hand, I had my 44 Magnum in my right hand. And I'm walking with my friend, and we're talking about, what we're gonna do about field dressing or dragging it or whatever. And I poke it with the stick, and he lifted his head up and made this grunt. And before I could even think about it, I already had the pistol pointed right at the back of his head and I pulled the trigger. Like it was just natural instinct. Bang! Like I did it so fast that the guy that I was with like jumped out of his boots practically. He's like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "You didn't see that thing sit up?" That's the closest I ever got to that scenario. And I was like, my brain told me we're not fucking around. So I obliterated his skull at point blank range practically. And then we had butt roast for dinner. It was great.
I was about to say, I like to quote my favorite movie when it comes to shit like this. Double tap. Don't be stingy with ammo.
Oh, yeah. Uncle Sam doesn't pay you to bring it back either. There's always that one. But yeah, I obliterated that thing. And apparently this guy didn't, and he paid the ultimate price. So his son, had to basically bury his father because they went hunting together, it's tragic and it's unfortunate, but let it be a lesson to all of you out there. If you are an amateur hunter or a first-time hunter, or even if you're a seasoned hunter and you just become complacent with your craft, these things can always happen. Try to limit the ability for it to happen to you. Like, I know a guy who goes hog hunting out here. He uses I think it's a Savage Axis, and his dispatch pistol is an FN 57, which, in this part of the country for hog hunting, that's plenty at nearly point blank range. Now, I'm still made fun of at Hog Wild Adventures because I'm still that guy who shot a hog with a 44 Magnum and watched the bullet ricochet off its skull at 80 yards. Don't ask. I don't know what happened. It's a long story. It went right between his eyes and nicked his skull and cut the skin and deflected upward. You can hear it after it hit him. It must have hit like 1,000 branches on the way to him. I don't know. But they killed it 3 years later. Like they nicknamed him and everything. His name was Scar, and they used to pick on me. But 5'7" at less than 5 feet. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll get the job done. He still uses that.
The problem is the 44 Magnum's cheaper than one round of 5.7.
For me, it is. I mean, I think I can load 44 Magnum for like 10 cents a round, maybe less. I mean, I buy everything in bulk though, so it is what it is.
No, but I mean, a box of 44 mag you could probably get cheaper than
50
$5.7
bucks.
Right now. Yeah, that's what a box of 5.7 runs.
So it's about the same. It's just, do you want to hit the hog in the head with a school bus, or do you want to hit them in the head with a Corvette? In terms of speed. Either way. Let's go on to our next story, shall we? Let's see. Hawaii hunting regulations prohibit pistols smaller than 44 Magnum. Oh, okay, so they don't screw around. That's good. That's actually a good thing. It also probably weeds out people with soft hands or weak constitutions to heavy calibers, which keeps a lot of people from hunting in the state of Hawaii, I guess. Like if arthritis prevents them from using a 44 and they can't use one, then they can't hunt, obviously, which is kind of unfortunate, but whatever, par for the course. All right, second story. I'm going to take you to my state, back to the great state of Texas. And I'm going to put the crime stories and the police shooting stories kind of in the rearview mirror, because it's happening all over the country, but it happened in my city. I think it happened in Austin also. And this is what happens when you let idiots, run the show. But anyway, we had talked about what this story is about for probably a year now, maybe longer even. And what it was is I had this theory about ammo shortages. And the joke was that they were taking ammo, the federal government was taking ammo, they were buying it up in droves, and it was like an episode out of National Treasure Book of Secrets. They were hiding it in a giant bunker behind the left eye of George Washington in Mount Rushmore, or just whatever, And then I thought, that's stupid. First of all, that much ammo is very big, very heavy, and it would be very obvious that you moved it all there because the trucking would be huge. And trucking is in the toilet right now. So then I thought, how do we get around this? They can't stop the average citizen right now from buying guns because of the defund the police movement. Gun ownership in this country has exploded. The number of states in this country to adopt constitutional carry has exploded in the last couple of years. I'm proud to say that Texas finally got with the program. They were number 21 in the country. I believe Ohio is about to become number 22. Everyone is now looking over at Louisiana going, what the fuck? You were supposed to follow Texas like its retarded little brother like you always do. What's your delay? What's your delay? How did Ohio beat you? The point is almost half the country, geographically more than half the country, but numerically, almost half the country has constitutional carry. Ammo shortages, there's a theory behind this. If 1 million people become first-time gun owners last year, and they're the kind of person who says, well, I have to have it because I don't trust that guy with his. Whatever. Or if they're the person who said, well, I'll buy it and I'll keep it in my nightstand for self defense, home defense. Whatever. I don't care what the reason is. But people kind of like that who buy it and don't really train and don't really go shooting on the regular, like the amateur gun owner, I guess you could say, or the day one gun owner who doesn't really have interest in honing the craft, just having the talisman. They're typically the same kind of person who says, "Oh, just give me 2 boxes of that stuff there with it." So let's say Joe Q Public bought a Ruger Security 9, reasonably priced, right? Self-defense 9mm. And then he says, "Give me 2 boxes of Winchester white box." So that's 100 rounds of 9mm. And in his mind, it's going to take me 50 years to shoot 100 rounds. In my mind, it's like, with my KP9, that's 3 magazines in like 30 seconds, right? But anyway, he buys one pistol and he buys 2 boxes of Winchester white box. Now you multiply that times 1 million new gun owners with the same mentality. That's 100 million rounds of 9mm that literally disappeared in the blink of an eye. That's where your ammo shortages are coming from. Just that alone. And then you got guys like us who buy a box every payday or a case every payday. So the guys like us are hurt by the shortage of guys like them who just bought the 2 boxes times 1 million people doing it. That's where the shortage really came from. So they can't stop you buying the guns. And then it's not that the manufacturers cut back production. It's because new gun owners bought 2 boxes apiece, right? So there's this shortage. And then people like us are shouting, "Hey, Federal, make some more damn ammo because it's disappearing off the shelves too fast." And now the prices are going through the roof because you can't make enough. And the retailers are just hoarding it and jacking up the prices. And then Federal turns around and says something like, "Well, we can start a new line of this stuff at the factory and produce another one, but it's only a temporary glut. And as soon as it settles back down, then we're going to have to lay people off and shut down the line." And it's like, no, you idiots. There was 1 million new gun owners, which means they have to keep buying ammo, which means the demand has increased because of the ownership increase. If you make more, you're going to have to keep up with us now. So then they turn around and they say, "Well, okay, but it's going to take us 3 years to get that online." Like, I think PSA said that they're going to start making their own ammo, but it's going to take like a year and a half to 2 years to get online.
Well, they bought a European ammo manufacturing facility.
Okay.
So it's going to take 6 months to a year for them to transfer it to the U.S.
You're saying like moving all the tooling.
Moving all the tooling and that shit.
Okay.
Because, government licensing and that bullshit.
Sure.
And then I figure probably another 6 months to a year to work the kinks out of the system, get it up and running good ammo.
Okay. Fair enough. So like I said, it's like, we're going to do it, but it's going to take a while to get online. So then you
ironically, is about 2 years, which is right as that fucking Russian ammo ban goes into effect.
How convenient.
Because for the next 2 years, they can still import Russian ammo under their current licenses.
So that's what you're saying is they built their own delay because they're buying up whatever they can also at the same time.
Yep.
Okay. So word to the wise is buy your Wolf, buy your Barnall and all that stuff now because there's a clock ticking. For me, the steel-cased 7.6239 on average is going for somewhere between 36 to 40 cents a round, which seems high to me. Like, everyone always talks about how cheap 7.6239 is, and I'm looking at that going, as a reloader, I'm looking at that going, are you insane? I load 500 Magnum for 39 cents a round. Are you kidding me? But apparently that's going to go through the roof soon because once all that stuff dries up, then you have to depend on the domestic. And then you got like LAX ammo, which I bought from them once. I can't say I had a bad experience. It was fine. Uh, they bought out Freedom Munitions. I'm almost 100% certain of it. I don't know if they ever announced it, but all of a sudden their website looks exactly like Freedom Munitions' website. And they're carrying Freedom's ammo now, among others. Freedom fucked up because they had expanded faster than they could afford. They were making their own at first, buying their own, making their own brass, and they were making their own remans. They had a manufacturing facility out in Montana, and then they trucked it over to Houston because they had a storefront here, which was awesomely convenient. They were at every gun show. I could buy a box of 44 Magnum. I think it was for $17. I was like, hell yeah, brother, right? And I never had a bad one. Like, I shot their 44, it was great. I shot their 45 ACP, it was great. I shot their 9mm like crazy, it was great. Like, it all worked. I never had a problem with it. Some of y'all, your results may vary, but for me, it all worked. Well, then they just decided that they were going to expand, and then they started distributing other people's ammo, like Wolf and PMC and all this other shit. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't afford to pay their bills, and the storefront in Houston disappeared. And then the website, everything was sold out. Even right now, their website's still up, but half the shit's sold out. So you got that going on. But I think LAX bought them because the websites are mirror images of each other now. And that's fine, whatever. So they can't stop the guns, they can't stop the ammo. So how do they stop ammo production? How do they stop people from having guns that work? They make it where you can't feed them. And the way that they do that, gunpowder takes up a lot of space. So they know that. They took away the one thing that every bullet needs, except rimfire. They took away the primer. A brick of 1,000 primers is the size, not even the full size of a regular house brick, right? That's an easy thing to hoard and to keep away from the people. If you can't shoot your gun is useless. So there's a primer shortage. And it's been that way for 3 years now. People were buying bricks of CCI that you used to be able to pay $39 for, and they were selling on Gunbroker for $600. Like, I wish I didn't miss the bus on that. I would have bought 1,000 bricks, and I'd be driving a Ram TRX just like my boss's kid right now. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I'd be buying a. I'd probably be driving a 3,500 one-ton Cummins, ripping his TRX right off its frame, just for the laughs. But anyway, the point is, primers were super short, and Fiocchi stopped importing it or exporting it to us. I haven't been able to find a brick of Fiocchi in forever. The reason I bring them up is because they had a neat little gimmick. Almost everyone else's brick was 1,000. Theirs was 1,500. Bonus, right? And it was only like a couple of bucks more. So I thought, oh, I'll have that. 50% more for only like 10% more cost. I'll have that. Can't find it. Fort Scott Ammunition or something like that. They started selling primers. They're ridiculously expensive though. They used to be the cheapest one. Now, if they're the only one, they're stupidly expensive.
No, but their projectiles is good stuff.
Is it?
Oh
So,
yeah, it does nasty things.
So it's like, what are we going to do about primers? Well, there's a new company in town, in Texas of all places, and they're backed by about $100 million worth of investors, and they're about to go online. They're buying property in Texarkana, Texas, and they're going to start making primers in response to the primer shortage. I'm very encouraged by this. However, like ammo, this is going to take some time to get online. They're saying the production is going to start this year. I'm going to believe it when I see it type in this case, and then I want to know what they're going to sell bricks for. Because if they can get brick prices down to $39 again, I'm all in. But then you're going to go back to the original problem of, well, I can't get powder. Powder shortages have been a thing since like 2004, 5, something like that. Like
Obama era.
the first powder shortage was just as I was getting into guns. Like I think it was during the 22 LR shortage. Powder was a problem. Powder is still a problem. You would think that after a decade they'd get the shit right, but they do the same excuse as the ammo manufacturers. Oh, it's a temporary glut. Once it settles down, it'll be everywhere. No, it won't. You're assuming that the gun community is getting smaller. It's not. It's growing exponentially. It is exploding. It is multiplying, which means get your shit together and make more. Like you're they keep they keep planning for an obsolete figure when they should be planning for an explosion of population. I mean, look at the population growth in the world in the last 100 years. We went from something like 2 billion people to 7 billion people in like a century, right? Why would they assume that this is a temporary glut?
Because they're idiots.
They must have like Betsy DeVos giving them advice. Fucking morons. Anyway, make more shit. We will buy it. You have our word. Signed, the gun community. I can't wait to see this. I really hope it works. I really do. Because Daddy needs to make more 9mm. I filled an entire 30 cal ammo can of 9mm. I can tell you that it holds 6,600 rounds. I can also tell you that I can't physically lift it now. It has become a permanent fixture on my foundation under my feet. I use it as an ottoman. It's so damn heavy. Anyway, all that wind up for that little bit of story. There's a third manufacturer of primers. It's coming. It's on the way. Cross your fingers and hope for the best so people like us can keep your guns running. We'll feed you. HVS says, I have no more ammo, or I have more ammo in my garage than all the Big Island gun shops combined. As cool as that is, I wouldn't be making that public. For your own... I know you think you got your shit on lock and everything. That's fine. It's just... It's cool to know. Tell your friends. Don't tell anybody else. Because then they'll know where to come when shit hits the fan and they can hold out with you or whatever. Anyway, point is, let's move on to the next story. Let's see. Okay, so we're seesawing. I took you from Pennsylvania to Italy to Texas, and now we're going to take a short little flight over to the Ukraine. Short flight. Hopefully we don't get hit by Russian SAMs.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me pull up my notes because I wrote this in a very specific way. The question I have to ask you, how did we go from we're not getting involved in any wars and we're pulling out of Afghanistan, we're bringing our troops home, how did we go from that to we're staying out of the Ukraine to announcing we're committing 5,000 troops to the Ukraine, 24 hours later going, we're boosting that number to 8,500 troops, to we will not move troops into the Ukraine in a single week. How did we go from nothing to all this in 7 days? Because we have an idiot that controls. And if we go by his track record of keeping promises, then we should just take our bets now on when the first shot of World War III begins. Because you've got, I think it's 100,000 troops, or is it 120,000 troops? Is it 60 battle groups have surrounded the Ukraine now? Okay? What they don't report in your regular news is there has been a border skirmish every day at the border of the Ukraine. And Ukrainian soldiers are getting wounded every day. And they're not telling you this. But the Russian state TV is saying that none of their guys are getting hurt. But the Ukrainian soldiers are getting hurt. What are they doing? Having negligent discharges every day? No. Are they getting picked off because they're laying down fields of anti-tank mines every day? Maybe. Maybe. Anyway, point is, how do we go from that to this? And take your bets on when the first shot of World War III begins. Because geopolitically, you have to look at it like this. You have a global superpower wanting to run over a small country. It's almost like Germany wants to take a vacation into Poland. You have China looking across the sea to a tiny little island called Taiwan. And if I were a betting man, I would say that there's one of two scenarios here. Russians cross into the Ukraine the day of the opening ceremonies of the Olympics in Beijing, because people are watching that. Or the Olympics happen in Beijing, all the politicization and human rights BS and all the woke drama of the Olympics happen first. And immediately after the Olympics are over, and after China tries to convince the world, no, we're fine, see, we had this great Olympics. Don't mind that group of soldiers beating those people protesting over there. No, no, turn the camera this way. Everything's fine. It's China. We're great. After that happens, then maybe both China and Russia attack their respective targets. When the whole time, Joe will sit there and call people from the press stupid sons of bitches. While leading up to, or while allowing what I'm about to lead into the next story with, which we'll get to in a second. But you just have to remember that every world war started with a small incursion that bloomed into something else that gave everybody else an excuse to participate. Right? So
or one person gets assassinated.
Right, the assassination in Yugoslavia and kicks off World War One. It gives everyone an excuse to take sides and draw battle lines, because then when everyone sees who agrees with what, then those groups split off and then they start making concessions to each other. Okay, cool, we're on the same page. I'll give you this part of this country if you let us have these assets from that country. Things like that. They start making these plans. It's like people still talk about why we were involved in Afghanistan. It wasn't terrorism. Explain why 3.5 trillion tons of iron ore was taken out of the country very quietly to maybe bolster the steel industries of two countries so they could try to keep China's steel manufacturing and production down. Nobody ever talks about that, do they? 3.5 trillion tons. Or how about all the rare earth metals and the lithium that came out of Afghanistan? We don't talk about that. It was about terrorism. It was about fighting the war on terror. This is just spoils the war. Turn the camera over here. Everything's fine. More of that shit. So, my buddy Ron, we were talking about this, and he was like, why does Russia want the Ukraine so bad? And I think you mentioned this. They wanted a warm water port, right?
Yep.
And then jokingly you said, well, if the Ukrainians realize that all hope is lost and NATO can't help them, who's to say they don't just blow the lid off the sarcophagus over Chernobyl? And I thought, nah, that's going to ruin the land, right?
Exactly.
But then
Salting the earth.
you said, well, they want the warm water port. And I thought, what if they just dump all their toxic waste into the port then and just turn it into the glowing sea? Like, oh, if we can't have it, then nobody can.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say they don't do that? I don't think they would. I still think that they think that NATO will bail them out. Russia's demanding that we don't allow the Ukraine to become a NATO ally ever. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you don't get to make that demand, first of all. Because they don't, I think what it is Russia doesn't respect Ukraine's sovereignty. They just don't. They're like, no, we're just letting you play house. Eventually Soviet daddy's coming home. And it doesn't help that half the Ukrainian people want to go back to joining the Soviet Union in the first place. So it gives the Russians an excuse. They're like, look, we're just liberating the people who want to join us. Right. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
on to the next one, which is why I was leading into it's leading into this next story anyway. I captioned this story, no, we're not hiding anything. We're totally not smuggling people out of the border to cities all over America to boost future Democratic voter bases. Whatever gave you that idea? I don't know. How about the fact that we caught you on camera? How about the fact that we actually have border agents and DHS agents admitting that you're doing this and that they are powerless to stop those who told them to do this? Did you know 9,000 immigrants per day are being flown out of border camps in Texas alone? In middle of the night flights all over the country. They don't have court dates. They don't have anything. They're just being taken. And guess who's paying for it? You are. I am. HVS is. We all are. We're paying for this. There was a GOP congressman, I think it was yesterday, proposed a bill to stop all federal payments, all taxpayer funds to pay for this. It should have never even been a thing. Let me see if I can get this story to come up so I can bring it down and show you guys. Right here.
I'm just looking for some 9mm.
The White House responded Friday to leaked video footage that shows migrants being transported on charter flights under the cover of night from southern border states to Westchester, New York, claiming the footage is not new or news. There's no such thing as secret flights, a White House official said in response to an inquiry from Fox News. White House correspondent Peter Doocy, the guy who was called a stupid son of a bitch on a hot mic. The video footage your network has been running endlessly is from 6 months ago in August, which, by the way, Jen Psaki, East German librarian, and others in the administration addressed this then too. It's not new or news. Footage was obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request by former Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino. Reports first surfaced on such flights in October when the New York Post captured the video at the airport in White Plains, New York. Footage of unaccompanied minors being transported, the White House official claimed, either to a vetted relative or to a sponsor. And yes, they passed through Westchester County, New York, en route to their final destination. Saying the federal government has a legal responsibility to safely care for unaccompanied children until they can be swiftly unified with a parent or a vetted sponsor. The official noted that the Office of Refugee Resettlement Facilities travel for the children in its custody to their family or sponsors across the country. That is the key word you need to pay attention to. Office of Refugee Resettlement. These people are not refugees. Okay? Refugees were the people who had to run away from war-torn countries like Bosnia, Herzegovina, Croatia, Serbia, maybe Sudan, stuff like that. You could make an argument for refugee status for those people. Okay? You cannot make excuses for an invading multinational army of criminal invaders walking across the border in t-shirts and flip-flops. That is not what a refugee looks like.
With cell phones.
With cell phones. Posting to TikTok as they walk across the border. The flights first streamed into the suburban airport from such places as McAllen, Texas, and Houston last August. They only stopped after the outlet captured footage of the landings in October. Separate footage captured by the news revealed several federally contracted buses dropping off dozens of mostly male migrants at a parking garage in Brownsville, Texas. Black tarps were set up with a sign that said Border Patrol drop-off above it. In response to that footage, the White House official said migrants who cannot be expelled under Title 42 are placed into immigration proceedings, and those avenues could be the placement in an alternative detention program into the interior of the United States, where they will wait for next steps in the immigration process, such as a court hearing, and are required to check in with their local ICE office. Bullshit. There was a journalist several months ago who walked across the border faking that he was an illegal immigrant. He was checked in, there was no COVID test, he was handed a piece of paper, put on a bus, and driven 6 hours up to San Antonio, where they stopped, let everyone off, gave them bottles of water and lunch, got them back on the bus, drove them another 5.5 hours to Dallas, opened the doors, let them out, and drove away and left them there. Good luck, bye. That's what's
Yep.
actually going on. There are videos right now. If you go to something like it's not called Live Leak anymore, but the website forwards you to the new address. There are videos of DHS and Border Guard agents telling you, we don't need to tell you what's going on. America's not stupid. You know what's going on. That's why they're doing it in the middle of the night, because they don't want you to realize it en masse. That's what's going on. They're voter farming. Now look, you can try to pander for votes. You can also try to become benevolent and humanitarian and say, sure, you can come into the country, but you can't do both. It's criminal. What you ought to do is set up a law saying that if you're going to leave the border wide open, fine, come on in, we'll get your name, we will issue you a social security number, but you will not be eligible for welfare for 3 years. And you will not be eligible to vote for 10 years because of the way you entered the country and bypassed all the rules. No welfare for 3 years, no eligibility to vote for 10 years. Watch how fast Democrats close the border. They'll snap it shut like a nun. Just nope, not going to happen. They will become pro border overnight. And then they will say that the GOP are racists and sexists and xenophobes and homophobes because that's the only page of the playbook that they read from. Their playbook only has one page. Anyway. Last story of the day is we're going to head west. I'm going to take you to California. You know I can't do a show without taking a poke at California. Not once. At least once. Hang on a second. Give me a second. Anyway. Like, what's the point of having a bright red on-air light? Anyway, I'm going to take you out to California. And I'm going to take you to the city of San Jose. And this is obviously not a story that hasn't already been covered and beaten to death. Everyone's already talked about this. I just want to bring a pretty basic perspective in this. You know, my background is sociology and psychology. So, like, I always try to think about how people think or what their rationale is behind something that they do or a decision that they make. That's just how I work. It's the curse of an analytical mind. So, San Jose, in their infinite wisdom, has put up a proposal, and I think it's already passed 2 council votes, and it's got 1 more to go, if I'm not mistaken. But they're pushing to force gun owners to carry liability insurance. And their justification for this is to, quote, ease the burden on taxpayers for the victims of gun crime. Okay? Process that for a minute. A minority of criminals who use guns in crime against tax-paying citizens are now going to force the tax-paying citizens to carry insurance to cover the financial burdens of the criminals' acts. Okay? The gun owners aren't the criminals. They are the taxpayers. You idiots. You're taxing the people to protect them? No, no, no. To make money off of them? Yes, that's it. Right. First of all, there was this thing called poll tax. And there was a Supreme Court case about this. And there is, I think, don't quote me on this because it escapes me right now. But I think there's even a constitutional amendment about this. You cannot tax a right first and foremost, okay? What they keep trying to do is use the example of automobiles. And they're trying to say, well, you can have a car and you have to have insurance to drive your car in case you hurt somebody. Well, yeah, but a driver's license is not a right. Passable
It's a
journey is
privilege.
a right, but a car and a license to operate a motor vehicle, that's a privilege in the name of public safety. Okay? Owning a gun is not a privilege in the name of public safety. Owning a gun is a right to ensure liberty of an overbearing government. It's supposed to be the ultimate check and balance. And the fact of the matter is the federal government even having the audacity to try to limit that right is frankly insane and intolerable. I don't know why people even allow it. It's like, that's when American voters should put their foot down and go, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not allowed to touch this. This was put here specifically to keep you from doing what else you're doing to us, like leaving the border wide open and cheating elections and changing the rules whenever you feel like, and forcing mandates on people with vaccines that clearly don't work, and forcing millions of people out of work because of lockdowns, and creating inflation on a scale that we haven't seen since the 50s because you didn't want America to be energy independent anymore. And now everything tied to transportation costs more. Like, you did all that, and then you try to take away our ability to forcibly remove you for doing all that to us. What gives you that right? Anyway. Yeah, there's a poll tax on guns everywhere, if you really think
What
about
they're
it.
trying to do is convert a right to a privilege.
Right. And then, the argument's always the same. And, for some reason, I couldn't keep remembering this, but you kept saying it, and it finally sunk in. Anytime you do this, it discriminates the poor. And you were right.
Yep.
It's bad enough. It's hard enough for
Especially,
them to even own a self-defense weapon. High Point exists on the mantra that self-defense is a right that everyone should be able to afford. We make
yep.
jokes about high points, yes, but there's something that has to be said about the fact that they work and they're affordable. And that's what they were. They believed in the profit by volume principle of business. Keep it cheap so everyone can have one. We will make the profit off of selling 1 million of these with $1 markup than selling one of these with $1,000 markup. It's practical business. So if you take away the right for the downtrodden financial person to be able to carry his weapon because now he can't afford the insurance, you're discriminating their right to self-defense, which ultimately is you're discriminating them against their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because if someone comes and tries to take all that away from them, they can't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tax a right, you fucking retards. And you idiots in San Jose who voted for these people should be ashamed of yourselves. Go jump in the ocean. Go back to the sea from whence you came. Anyway, I can't wrap my head around that. The fact that they have
I
allowed
can.
this. Well, first of all, you voted for this, okay? And maybe you voted for this because you were lied to. Fine. Fine. Okay? I will give you the benefit of the doubt. You were lied to. That's what politicians do, right? Now that you know that they've lied to you, now that the rabbit has been pulled out of the hat and ultimately dissected right in front of you on a daily basis, get off your ass and do something about it. You had a chance to get rid of Gavin Newsom. You failed. You got these idiots in San Jose. Don't fail again. What the hell is the matter with you people?
Well, the one good thing is there's a certain judge in California that actually respects the Second Amendment, who this case will probably end up in front of. St. Benitez.
I forgot the guy's name. Damn it. Who
Judge
was it?
Benitez.
No, who was the Supreme Court justice that recently died? Not RBG, the other one, the one we liked. Scalia.
Oh,
When does he become the next Justice Scalia and mysteriously die with no autopsy?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, when's the last time that happened?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, when is that going to happen now? How did we go from Justice Breyer saying that he has no intentions to retire and he will not cave into the pressures of a political party to do so, to I'm retiring, I'm leaving in July? I want to know if he took a phone call from a Clinton right before making that decision. I really do. I want to see his phone
Clinton
records.
or Obama.
I want to see his phone records. I want to see who visited that motherfucker. I mean, did Hillary Clinton send a text message with her resting bitch face only, with no words attached to it? And he looked at that picture and he goes, "Oh God, I'm about to suicide."
They got one of
Seriously.
us. They can't get both of us.
Seriously. Now, I was going to get into this thing about the Knights Templars and shadow governments and all this other stuff, but we really don't have time for it. Maybe I'll try to save it for next week. I don't typically do the whole uh, tinfoil hat E-Honda type thing. I have fun doing them, but I just typically don't do it on this particular show. But Ron brought up something
Yeah.
about the Knights Templar. I'll just beat around the edges. He brought up something about the Knights Templar. And in 5 minutes, I took away his religion about the Knights Templar. The worst thing you can do to somebody is take away something they believe in with logic and then convert them. And I did that to him in 5 minutes. He talked about the Templars, he talked about the hidden wealth and how great they were, and I stopped him dead in his tracks and I said, "You don't get it, do you? They were the original shadow government." And he's like, "What are you
They still
talking
are.
about?" I'm like, let me put this thought into your head. The world feared any place the Templars came to visit. They ruled with an iron fist. They took all the riches from all over the world and hid it. Anytime they needed something, they had the money to do so, and nobody questioned it. When the world started to realize what they were, they went into the shadows and disappeared. And what happened after that? Anger and vengeance, the Spanish Inquisition, the Salem witch trials. We started attacking and killing each other over it. And the whole time, the rich and powerful and influential lived in the shadows, moving the chess pieces on the board. And he goes, "Well, how come they didn't do that the whole time?" Because there was no TV, there was no internet, there was no media, there was no newspaper print. Back in those days, they had to be visual. They had to be vocal. They had to be seen to be feared. They were the original mafia. Like, I laid it all out for him in 5 minutes, and I could just hear the life coming out of his voice. And then I got off the phone with him, and he sent me a text like 3 minutes later, and he goes, "You are in the wrong line of work." And I'm like, "Maybe." And he said, "So who are the modern day Templars? Who are those people who are rich and influential, ruling from the shadows and moving the pieces on the board. And he asked me to give him a list. So I did. He was like, and after our conversation and in my realization that you're probably correct, I need 12 names of the people that you would think would be leadership pieces of a Knights Templar of 2020. And I was like, okay, how about this one? George Soros, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Vladimir Putin, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, Michael Bloomberg, Ted Turner, Charles Cook, Oprah Winfrey, and Warren Buffett. Mic drop. Boom.
I
If you
don't
don't,
think Elon.
no, see, that's the one. He's the black sheep of the group. Somebody has to be like the loud, vocal, autistic screeching noises person. So it kind of tones down the savagery in a way. But see, the thing is if you don't know who Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus is, you probably do, and you don't even like him. He's the head of the WHO. Or Walensky. Who's she? The head of the CDC. See, they couldn't control you financially, so they controlled you by locking you down and then killing your finances. George Soros yesterday announced he's going to drop $120 million. Was it 120 million or 120 billion? On the DNC this year. Why would he do that? Better yet, person dies from a stroke around the world every, 6 or 8 seconds? When's his turn? Food for thought. Anyway, Templars, original Mafia, original Shadow Government. They're still around. They're just using different names now. Think about that one. Chew on that one. Invest in Reynolds Wrap.
Tinfoil.
Tinfoil. Oh, that's what Reynolds Wrap is. Invest in Alcoa and Reynolds Wrap. You'll probably be safer than doing crypto. Oh God, I just opened the HVS crypto gates of hell. Anyway, I think you're right. I think Elon Musk did say that. Biden's a sock puppet in human form. Let me play off of that. One of these days, see, Biden's becoming very flustered and unhinged. You can hear it in his interviews. You can hear it when he actually takes an interview and he can't run away fast enough. When a Peter Ducey goes, so can we talk about inflation or is that verboten? And then he turns around and he goes, what a stupid son of a bitch, on a hot mic, right? One of these days he's going to get so flustered, he's going to turn around, he's going to get in Peter Ducey's face, and he's going to be like, come on, man, what's your problem? Why can't you just, get with the program? And somebody like Peter Ducey is going to stand up and get back in his face, and he goes, why don't you tell the world who's really running the show? And then shove him. And then out of anger, when Biden picks up his broken-hipped ass, he'll blurt out a name that nobody thought of. Like, it's going to be somebody that you didn't expect. And that's going to blow your mind. Because, like, anyone can just say, oh, it's Hillary, or oh, it's the Obamas. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think Obama is the mouthpiece behind whoever pulls the strings. Because he's a good orator. He's a very good orator. He can deliver a message. He's a great speech maker. He's very good at that. Very charismatic. Bill Clinton, before his sexual scandals, he was a good orator. He can connect with young people because he sounded like one. Even though he didn't look like one, he sounded like one, right? They were good at gab. That's what Obama's function is in the grand scheme of things. And like HVS pointed out, Biden's just sock puppet. Like, he's just the figurehead. It's weekend at Bernie's. Who's pulling the strings? I don't think it's Nancy Pelosi. I don't think it's Chuck Schumer. I don't think it's even, what's his name? The Penguin. Jerry Nadler. I don't think it's him either. I think they're all chess pieces. They're all pawns too. Somebody else is moving those pieces, and I would be genuinely surprised to see who's pulling those strings. Like, if it was a name we never thought of. I don't even know what name I would put out there, but I'll think about one. Maybe you guys should too. Maybe we'll touch on that in the next episode. If you think that there is somebody pulling the strings, leave a comment either this week or next week, or just mention it in the chat, and we'll go over that list. We'll talk about it. Pick a name, and we'll try to reason out the feasibility of it, whether it could happen or not. I think that'd be a cool little exercise. So yeah, there will be an episode 35. um, okay, before I get into the final segment, I just wanted to point out something. I got a new subscriber yesterday, and I got a comment from him, but I can't answer it. I went to go check the comment, and it's not there anymore. I was going to answer it too because I thought it was really cool that he reached out to me. This guy's the third developer for a game to reach out to me. I, I'm kind of flattered. Anyway, if you hadn't noticed, if it's not one of the playlists you follow me for, that's fine. Like, I'm not trying to force it down your throat. But if you notice that I have a splash screen on my videos for 8 different subjects, and the busiest one for me is Penny Arcade because it's the easiest for me to record. So I've had 3 game developers write me back or leave comments or want to chew the fat on their game that I did a review of. So I did a 6-part series on this game called The Captain, and I love it. And it's awesome. It's brilliant. If you were a gamer in the 90s, 80, like late 80s, Space Quest, 90s, Out of This World, stuff like that, this game is for you. It is awesome. Uh, the developer subscribed to me and then left me a comment asking how I did something. And I was going to tell him because he was like, "Thank you for covering my game. I love it. Your series was great and entertaining. How did you come up with 700 missiles to fight all these guys in the game?" I thought I made it clear because in the last episode when the weapon selection board popped up, it had 6 buttons or 7 buttons, and I added 2 buttons that said hacks. And what I had done is I found the I don't want to call it binary. I found the hex address for certain elements of the game, and one of them just happened to be the quantity of missiles. So I just gave myself a ton of missiles. That's how I did it. But the reason I did it was because in my 5-episode series, I covered the beginning of the game thinking that this was a short game. After the 5th episode, before I edited it, I kept playing it for my personal, free time. And I discovered that I was nowhere close to scratching the surface of how big this story was in the game. And as a matter of fact, I beat the game and it said I only covered 19% of the content. And I thought, wow, I'm going to have to play this over because I'm a completionist. I want to see everything. So I fast forwarded ahead through my gameplay, and then I did a last epilogue episode to show you about the beginning of the second third of content, where that would begin, to show you, hey, there's a lot more to this than even I showed you. For $20, this is totally worth your money. These guys brought out something brilliant. So anyway, he asked the question, but I haven't had a chance to respond. I don't know if he took his comment out or whatever, but I would have told him. I'd have just been like, yeah, I found the hex address and I just modified it so I can have that many missiles. The other way you could have done it was he could find the hex address for scrap metal, because in his game, you can craft missiles. 1 piece of scrap metal will make you 3 missiles. So it's a 1 for 3 type thing. You just give yourself a bunch of extra steel and just make a shit ton of missiles for yourself. Either way, you could do it. But yeah, played the game, absolutely loved it. Series was great, so much so that I did a 6th episode because I did the release a day early. So it was like, wait a minute, what am I going to do for Friday? So that did happen. And I'm perfectly happy with it. Like, I had a great time with it. So that being said, let's get into what are you doing for the rest of the week? Now, for me, it's 57 degrees. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's beautiful outside. So I'm going to go wash my car. And then I'm probably going to try to take my mother shopping because I need to go to this place that I want to take her to. And then Korean hibachi barbecue for dinner, maybe, hopefully, if I do that. And then I've got a couple of games that I'm going to try to record tonight. My friend Cola, I finally convinced him to try The Long Dark. and he told me that I should play Devil May Cry 5. Just looking at it, I could tell that it's probably not my thing, but he was looking at Long Dark saying the same thing, but he's willing to try it as long as I'm willing to try his. So I have Devil May Cry 5. I'll play it. I hope it surprises me. I hope what it does is it turns into Far Cry 5 for me. I didn't play Far Cry until 5. I tried to get 2 way back in the day, and I never played it. So I got 5. I played it. Absolutely loved it. Blew my mind. If you don't know, that game takes place in Hope County, Montana, and it's all about nuclear holocaust, religious zealots, and preppers. And it's fantastic. Like, if you haven't played it, you're doing yourself a disservice. And it was so good that they did a sequel to it based on the same location after the events of the 5th one, called shit, what was it called? New Dawn. Far Cry New Dawn. So, yeah, like, I'll try Devil May Cry 5, and I'm hoping that it does the same thing. Because I want to be fair, and I might even record it. For those of you who do follow my Penny Arcades, you probably noticed that I haven't done a Kickin' It Old School, I think, yet in 2022. I think I did the last one at New Year's Day or something. It's because I just needed a bit of a break because of other stuff that I want to record, and because of the fact that I still need to do a lot of gun reviews. I keep collecting and I haven't done the videos on them. And I also got to do some more This Old Gats. Namely my Vetterli Vitali, the Italian, the Berthier, my Berthier rifle. What is it? A M17? No, M11. I can't remember. My 5-shot Berthier rifle. I still got to do that one. My M44. Man, I got a lot of stuff to show you guys. Like a ton of stuff. And then obviously AK all day, right? That's got to happen. I'm really excited about that, so maybe I'll even go to Bass Pro and see if I can find some 7.62 54R. Because I don't have any. None. 0. I need some.
Oh, that's the other thing I got.
Huh.
My M44.
That was last week, though, wasn't it?
No, it was Saturday.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
the same day I put the other
Oh,
one on,
that's right.
10mm on layaway.
Yeah. Wait, you went to go get that, right?
Was not open.
Oh, weak. Blizzard
So I'll have
watch.
to wait till Monday or Tuesday, yeah.
So you're in the same boat I am.
He
Well,
ain't open on Sundays or Mondays.
did you call the other one? You know, about the thing that may or may not be canceled? Eh? Eh? That's what. See, you could be, quote, doing that this weekend.
No, they give you for the one I bought this morning. They give you
That's-
6 days to set up the transfer.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'll talk about it off air.
I'm drawing a blank.
It's okay. I'll talk about it off air. It's a little more personal. It's a little less not in public.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
That thing, yeah.
No, I haven't heard.
You should
on
go
that.
find out. Because then you could say, yeah, that's what I'm doing this weekend. Anyway, let's see. I just got a text from Versacary.
Mm-hmm.
New Formula One holster. I'll check it out. I gotta buy all my Spetsnaz gear too.
Very expensive week.
And my Osprey. And the plates. And the trauma plates.
I put a deal in the Discord for plates.
Oh yeah, I saw it this morning. Yep, that might be a thing too. Okay, so in keeping in tradition, we have reached almost 2 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and start playing this. And I'm going to thank all of you for watching, or if you catch it on the replay, you can watch it there. Also, if you check the link in the description below, there is a invite code for the server. It's good for a finite amount of people, so if you want to join the server, click the code, join Discord, be part of us. We do the lobby every day, Monday through Friday, where it says Lobby for Working Stiffs. If you think you can contribute to the show, you can be part of the show. Just let me know. If you want to be a broadcaster yourself and host your own show through the Discord, I can show you how I do it. I have a tutorial video. I can get you started, and I don't invade your space once you have a channel. Ask anyone who hosts the New Watch podcast, because they do it every week, and I don't jump in. So anyway, thanks all for watching. We will see you somewhere else. Probably in a penny arcade, but for sure next week, here.